And I told her that I had breast cancer, and it killed me to see the fear in her eyes. But she said, Mommy, are you going to die? And I said, no, I'm going to live for you. And so over the next year, I went through my treatment, and I learned that women under 40 have more aggressive breast cancers and higher mortality rates because we're often misdiagnosed. Doctors tell us we're too young, you can't have breast cancer, you have no history. Most women that get breast cancer have no history. I met some wonderful women who, as I was healing, they were getting better as well, and some were losing their lives because they were metastatic and dying. These young women, mothers, daughters, and wives, all lost their lives in their prime because they were not diagnosed in time. We must change our approach to this problem. Getting detected early is very, very critical. I was at a conference recently for Coleman and Young Survivor Coalition, and they had a conference for young women. I met these wonderful young women, and one of them was 21 years old. As I looked at her, face full of hope and full of dreams for the future, she said, Maimah, I'm not going to be around much longer. I have metastatic breast cancer. And I cried for her because she will not have a future like I do have, or like the women who are getting diagnosed in time. And her story is the same as Kristen's story, the same story as Samantha's story, Stephanie's story, Dikla's story, and Angela's story. They all thought, I'm too young to get breast cancer. We must teach women under 40 the importance of getting breast exams done on time, getting detected early. Self-exams are not an option, they're critical. These young women, they are our future. I am the future. Noelle is the future. Whenever anyone dies, she's not a number or a statistic. She's a heartbeat that stops. And a heartbeat that somebody mourns for, somebody cries for. Somebody loves the way her hair smells. Somebody misses her touch and her eyes and her smile. And so when I met Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I shared my dreams with her, I'm not crying. Yes, I am. I shared my dreams with her, and she told me of her situation. I was just so honored, and I'm so happy to support the Early Act. I'm dedicated to helping this move forward in any way I can, and I hope you support it as well. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being here.
Here, I'm going to open it in 1 second, okay? When we're all done, I'll open it. I promise.
Maimah, thank you so much. I'm so glad you were here to share your personal story. There are literally millions of personal stories. Now I want to introduce, I'm going to try to introduce my good friend and roommate in Washington, and one of only 2 members of the House that went through this with me, Congresswoman Melissa Bean, representing the 8th District of Illinois.
It's a good thing I brought a tissue, because it's something we haven't talked about. This is something that Debbie chose to fight through on her own. I thought I would lose it. I'll just keep it short. I think it's important that people have support groups to help them through this. And you found yours, and you had yours, and your friends, and your family, and your husband. And that's so important, because as you heard from Debbie earlier, 10,000 women under 40 in 2008 were diagnosed with breast cancer. And oftentimes they run into physicians who don't have the education to know how to promptly respond and treat it. So early detection makes the difference, and that's what the Early Act does. It's going to educate and create awareness, not just for those who may be victims of it, but for their doctors and for their healthcare providers who need to know how aggressively they need to respond and urge treatment for those who face it. I think it's appropriate that Debbie Wasserman is the one to really introduce this act, given the experiences that she went through. But many of you know her as I do. She's my friend, she's my colleague, but she's known as one of the hardest working and most effective leaders on the Hill. And what she chose to do was not let breast cancer define her. And what we all saw through the year of 2008 was just one of the most inspiring legislators, without having any idea the fight that she was personally waging for her life, to be there for her kids. So she's always my hero, and I know she's now going to inspire so many others who are dealing with the same diagnosis and are afraid that they can't carry on in their lives, that they have to lose their other personal or career ambitions. And you don't have to do that. And I think what Debbie's done, not just legislatively, but by her example, has shown people that get the support, get the treatment, do early detection, and you'll be standing here sharing your story with others. Thanks.
Melissa, thank you so much, and thank you for being there for me this whole year, really. I'd like to conclude by introducing Dr. Sandra M. Swain, the Medical Director of Washington Cancer Institute at Washington Hospital Center. Dr. Swain is the Medical Director of the Washington Cancer Institute and a professor at Georgetown University. Since receiving her medical degree from the University of Florida, of course, she has spent many years, go Gators, she has spent many years as a leader in breast cancer treatment and research. She has over 170 publications in breast cancer and is internationally known for her work. I want to thank Dr. Swain for being here today to share your expertise and for all of the tremendous work that you have done for women's health. Dr. Swain.
Thank you very much. And as you can have heard today, that an early diagnosis of breast cancer in a young woman certainly can be life-saving and, as we've heard, very life-changing. So I think this is such an important act. And I applaud Congressman Wasserman Schultz and Senator Klobuchar and admire all you're doing for their commitment to women's health and their leadership with this bill in raising breast cancer awareness among younger women. And I treat patients and take care of patients every day and see many, many young women that have been faced with this diagnosis. While it's most common, as you've heard, in women over 50, we've already heard at least 2 examples where it can also develop in young women. In fact, and I'm going to repeat this number again, you've already heard it, that an estimated 10,000 women under 40 this year will develop breast cancer, and that's not a small, insignificant number, and it is a higher incidence in African American women. So it's very important that young women do know their risks. It's important not only to not underestimate but not overestimate their risk. So I think that awareness is important too, that everyone knows where they stand. Younger women with a family history of breast cancer or Ashkenazi Jewish heritage should discuss genetic testing and potential screening options with their doctors. And we applaud the efforts of the Congresswoman and senators towards continuing education in young women. This bill will help younger women understand that while they may be too young for yearly mammograms, because we don't recommend them until women are 40, knowing their risk and talking with their doctors can be life-saving. And thankfully, on a positive note, breast cancer survival has been increasing in the U.S., especially in younger women, and that's probably due to our very effective treatments. So this bill is another important step forward in our fight to ensure that all women receive treatment when it is most likely to be effective. I encourage women everywhere of all ages to educate themselves about breast cancer, and we have a terrific source for any women seeking accurate oncologist-approved information is cancer.net, and I'm on the board of the American Society of Clinical Oncology. We're very proud of that, and it has a lot of great educational materials. But I really support this, and again applaud and thank you for what you're doing.